Welcome to the Afrocentric Woman, where our mission is to inspire Black women to heal core wounds and embrace a luxurious and abundant lifestyle. Thank you for joining me. Let's talk, sis. Hi, I wanted to talk today about cutoff culture and why I would consider it very toxic cutoff culture. And I'm going to start this by telling you all a story from several years ago. It was probably, we could say 5 to 6 years ago. So I had some friends and they wanted to introduce me to a woman who they thought we had a lot in common. We were in the same industry and we were around the same age, and we looked even a little bit alike, and we had a lot of things in common. And so this mutual friend had been telling both of us about the other, and it just so happened that I was going over her house on a day that this lady was there. And so I ended up hitting it off with her as they suspected. She was super, super cool. And I actually was interested in working with her on a project for this industry that we were in industries, and I wanted her to help me because I couldn't really work on it myself because for various reasons. And so that was that. And so we just kind of started exchanging information. She was much more involved on Twitter than I was. She tweeted a lot. I really have never been an active tweeter. So we connected on Twitter, and we were on phone and text. And so that's kind of how it all began. We were super, super cool. And then we followed the same wellness teacher. And so this teacher was coming to our city, and it was really, really cool. And she had bought tickets, and she was like, I really want you to come with me. I bought you a ticket. I hope that's okay. I was like, girl, you bought me a ticket. Oh my God, I really wanted to go and see her. Thank you. It was just a blessing. I think my money was a little funny at the time. So, just having her buy that, it meant a lot to me. I was really super grateful. So I went to her house before the event. We were hanging out. She had a child. I ended up meeting her child and her partner, and we just hung out, and it was time to go. And I was driving because I had actually gotten into a car wreck, and they needed to fix my car, and I ended up getting upgraded to this luxury vehicle. And it was I love this car. It was a German make luxury car, and I was feeling it. I was thinking of anywhere to drive just so that I could drive this car, because this car drove so good. It had leather interior. It was so nice. So I was like, I'll drive. So we get in the car and we're talking, and she said something, N-words, something. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, well, I don't use that word. And she was like, oh, well, I do. And I was like, yeah, I know. A lot of people I know use the N-word, and I don't, I'm not fanatical about, talking negatively about people who do use the N-word. I don't like it used around me, and I don't use it in my home, and I wouldn't use it in my car. And she was like, well, N-word really means the negus of the kings of Africa. I was like, I don't know about that. And I always find it interesting that when you call out people who use the N-word, they'll somehow try to flip it around and make it seem like it's some type of royal something, metaphysical, or they'll just make up something to justify using the word when they used it very negatively. You can't substitute the N-word for something positive. And usually the way people say it, they'll say something like, N-words ain't ish. And you're like, you can't substitute that for kings ain't ish, or royalty ain't ish. It doesn't translate. You can only translate it with something negative, like trash ain't ish. these N-words ain't, it's a negative thing. So she tried to pull that, and I was like, no, girl, I'm sorry, I don't really buy into that. I just don't use it. I don't like it to use around me, like in my car or my house, but it's cool. And so she let it go. She's like, okay, that's fine, I won't use it now. And I thought it was over. I thought that was it. We went to the event. We had a good time. We talked. We socialized. And I took her home. And then maybe I think I text her, hey, thanks again for the ticket. Had a good time, blah, blah, blah. And I think I might have called her maybe like a week later or text, and she just never responded. I ended up, going over to Twitter and sending her a DM because I wasn't sure if I was blocked, like, hey, what's going on? And I think she finally responded, and I was like, well, what's going on? And she's like, oh, nothing. And I'm like, is it because that I asked you not to use the N-word in my car? And she was like, oh, no, that's not it. And yeah, she just pretty much ghosted me and stopped responding to me. And I was just like, wow, that's just so crazy that I'll never know what it was, because for whatever reason, I'll just never know. She wouldn't talk to me and tell me what the issue was, or if she was offended by the fact that I asked her not to use the N-word in my car. I really thought that little conversation was over, but I don't know. To this day, I don't know, and I'll never know, because we don't talk. I got cut off. And that's where I wanted to illustrate this. That's where I wanted to give you a personal story of toxic cutoff culture, and how it manifests in life. And I don't know why we cannot talk to one another. We cannot express how we feel. And I can understand if it's with a super toxic person that's going to gaslight you and be negative and be insulting you for expressing your feelings. But I am literally, like, I'm one of the most receptive and listening people. I can be strong-minded in a lot of things, but one thing that I will not do is deny people of their feelings. That's something that I will not do. I feel like you are entitled to your feelings. I will not diminish them or tell you you're wrong for having an emotion. That's just something I won't do. And for that reason, I am a safe person to talk to. Even if I don't agree, or even if I'm not able to see your point of view, I'm at least curious and open to try. And the people in my life I show respect to. I don't demean people, and especially not my friends, and especially not even a new friend. So I'm like, if you can't talk to me, who can you talk to? If you don't feel safe to talk to me, who can you talk to? And how many relationships do we throw away because we cannot communicate with the other person for whatever reason? And I'm not saying having certain conversations are not difficult, because I struggle for sure in them. With friends and with family, sometimes I feel like there is a mountain of conversations I need to have. There's definitely some apologies that I need to express and to share with people who I know I have hurt in the past from, I've had some harsh ways of dealing with some things, and I've kind of come around and matured a lot on some issues, a lot of them, and I do owe a handful of people an apology, but those people definitely are not cut off, and I do make myself available to them. And even if we're not on where I think we should be, or where we could be, or where they might, I don't know, we're not super close, but I'm around and cordial and open to what can happen. So yeah, I just think that's so toxic that we do that. I don't know how many good people have we thrown away because we just cut them off because they say one little thing that we don't like. And is it really worth it? Like, how offensive could that have possibly been? Or is it something else? And like, do you think that we owe quality people a conversation? Because I know in my life, when it comes to all sorts of quality people, I really have to manage how I manage them in my life, because I don't throw away quality people because I'm having a bad day or because they say something that irritates me. I don't know, maybe it's a maturity thing that I've kind of garnered over time. But I think I used to, maybe when I was younger, I might be a little quicker to cut people off. But I'm slower to do that now, especially when it comes to quality women. Now, abusive men who degrade me or harass me or threaten me or make me feel uncomfortable or are violent in their words or actions, oh yeah, I cut them off very fast. I cut them off very fast. But there's even been some guys who I feel like are quality people. They have enough qualities in enough areas whereby I don't see a future with them. I don't, want to be in an intimate relationship with them. And they may even be a little bit narcissistic, maybe a little bit. But there's other qualities about them, be it their profession, their knowledge base, or whatever the case may be. And maybe they're not super belligerent and malignant. If they know how to control themselves and they're highly valuable, I'm slow to throw them away. Now, no one is immune from being, thrown away. But I am slow to throw quality people away because I value the connection, I value the relationship, and I have to think about, what does this person bring to my life? What qualities about them attracted me in the first place? And what do I lose by losing this connection? I take all those things into consideration before I would willy-nilly X someone out of my life. And I think it takes courage and vulnerability to communicate clearly when someone has hurt you, or when you feel hurt about something, or when you feel anything as it pertains to that relationship. I think that it takes courage, it takes maturity, and it takes vulnerability to do that. And there's strength in vulnerability, because the easy thing to do is to just run away and close your eyes and pretend nothing, just pretend like it doesn't matter. I think that's probably the easier to have a honest, heartfelt conversation, no matter how flippant the offense may have been, or minor or major, or whatever the case may be. I think it does. So I would love to hear your thoughts about that. Like, how do you determine keeping a relationship, whether it be a new one, an old one? How do you determine keeping relationships? Have you ever been just cut off randomly by a friend or an acquaintance or a connection and had no idea about why? Tried to circle back to that contact about, like, hey, what happened? And they just totally ghost you, or gaslight you and tell you that everything's okay when everything clearly is not okay, because that is a form of gaslighting. Even if you say, hey, something is going on, but I don't want to tell you about it, I can accept that a little bit more than gaslighting me and telling me nothing is happening. Because if you don't want to share with me what is on your mind, you have the right. You don't owe me anything. Your presence in my life is a gift. Your conversation to me is a gift that I cherish, and I realize that I'm not entitled to it. But if you share it with me, I really do appreciate it. I really do. But I can accept more so, I'm going through something and I don't want to share it with you. I don't feel safe sharing it with you. I just don't want to share it with you, or I just don't want to talk to you anymore. Or I can live with that. I can accept that. Sometimes it effing sucks because you may not be ready to let the relationship go or the connection go, but
at the end of the day, like I just mentioned, people's presence is a gift that you're not entitled to. If they choose to share it with you, that's their choice. So, but what really gets under my skin is the gaslighting. Oh no, everything's fine, or the ghosting, when clearly everything is not okay. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about it, like on both ends, you cutting off people or getting cut off. How do you know when to say when, and how do you accept when people just ghost you or gaslight you about what's going on? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Peace and love.
Thank you so much for sharing your time and attention with the Afrocentric Woman. Special gratitude to our subscribers. If you'd like to stay connected with this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please do so by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you like this content, please hit the like button. If you have any comments or thoughts about the content shared, please drop down into the comment section and let us know. Remember, you are worthy, you are enough, you are unique, and you are lovable. And I appreciate you.